In the early 1800s in America, there was a Protestant idea that Native Americans came from ancient Israel, of which members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints still hold that view to be true. We tend to hold this view because of our belief in a book named the Book of Mormon, translated by Joseph Smith in the early 1800s. The trick is there were also books written in the early 1800s about this belief. One of which, if you are familiar with Mormon apologetics, is The View of the Hebrews. This book was written by Ethan Smith in 1823, in which he describes him seeing compelling Christian practices within Native American tribes and traditions. The interesting critique between the View of the Hebrews and the Book of Mormon is there are seemingly interesting parallels between the two. These similarities include stories like Quetzalcoatl and the relationship of Quetzalcoatl to Jesus Christ, also the quoting of Isaiah, even down to the names Ethan Smith and Ether. So the question is, can we trust in the Book of Mormon when it was obviously plagiarized from the View of the Hebrews? Surely there must be influences from the View of the Hebrews in the Book of Mormon, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this view of the View of the Hebrews and the Book of Mormon is closer to conspiracy theory rather than historical fact. Although it was a book widely distributed in America, and it was before Joseph translated the Book of Mormon, there is no evidence that Joseph rented, borrowed, or bought the book before he translated the Book of Mormon or during. A look at the seeming parallels between the View of the Hebrews and the Book of Mormon reveals that the similarities aren't even related to the actual book, The View of the Hebrews, but simply growing up in a Protestant world in America. Later accounts show in the 1940s that Joseph actually referenced the View of the Hebrews as possible proof that the Book of Mormon was valid. But before then, there is zero. And when I say zero, I mean zilch. There is no evidence to suggest that the View of the Hebrews influenced Joseph Smith in translating the Book of Mormon and producing that document. As members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we hold to the view that there is no earthly way to produce a document like the Book of Mormon other than through and by the power of the divine himself. It is a document that contains 268,000 words, Hebraisms, complex storylines and characters, character voice that exceeds the character voice of Jane Austen and Charles Dickens, plus Joseph producing this document within 3 months. Me, as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, asks the critics of the Book of Mormon to please produce a better critique than the View of the Hebrews influencing Joseph Smith to produce and dictate a document like the Book of Mormon. I need a better critique. Our testimony is that God called a prophet, seer, and revelator to usher in the last dispensation of the fullness of times with the production and the dictation and the translation of a holy record called the Book of Mormon. As Jeff R. Holland says, as he quotes his great-grandfather, saying, "No wicked man could write a book as this, and no good man would write it unless it were true and he were commanded of God to do so."